Yeah, we have an even bigger scandal now brewing. Let me mention both scandals. The first scandal was when somebody hacked into the computer system of a research institute in the United Kingdom, and you had, thousands of pages of sloppy emails. There's no other word for it. There was no smoking gun. No one is accusing people of making up numbers. But, a lot of pettiness came out. Jealousies, turf mentality. We're human beings, and we do all the crazy stuff that any other group of human beings does. However, the second scandal is worse. It's really worse. It turns out there's one paragraph out of 800 pages signed off by over 1,000 scientists, one paragraph with 5 factual mistakes in it. This is a smoking gun of sort. It's a small smoking gun. But, for example, it says that by the year 2035, we could see, tremendous melting of the Himalayan glaciers. Well, the scientists in the Himalayas don't think so. They redid the calculation and found out it was a misprint. It should have been 2035. It should have been 2350. So they got the numbers wrong. They interchanged 2 digits. And the report went on, made 5 mistakes in one paragraph. It said the Himalayan mountain glaciers are receding much faster than average. No, they're receding at the same rate as all the other glaciers on the planet Earth. And they said that, these results come from the World Wildlife Fund. No, only one number came from the World Wildlife Fund. So they've been trying to track down, where did this paragraph come from? Who wrote it? Who stuck in 5 mistakes in one paragraph, right? And they're still trying to track down exactly what happened. Apparently what happened was an internet report, not verified, not peer-reviewed. That's the source of some of this misinformation that came into one paragraph. So as a consequence, some people have called now for the removal of the chair of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Because now we're talking about a factual mistake, not just jealousies and name-calling and turf mentality, but a real error in scientific judgment, putting in incorrect numbers, incorrect footnotes, incorrect conclusions. 5 mistakes in one paragraph. And so now people are saying, what else lurks in that 800-page document? Mm-hmm. So I don't think it changes the thrust of it. The Earth is heating up. Humans, you can see the fingerprints of humans all over the place, but it is embarrassing.
Mm. I'm like you. When all this broke, I read everything I could lay my hands on. I actually read the email. There's so many emails to read. It's ridiculous. And I couldn't find, as you point out, a smoking gun. It's not there. It's a big mess, and it's embarrassing, and it's a lot of things, but it doesn't mean that global warming is a lie. Quite to the contrary, anybody with eyes can look up north and see what's happening. We're getting a new ocean. And,
you can see the fingerprint everywhere. This decade, the decade that just ended, hottest decade recorded in the history of science. Mm-hmm. And we're looking at carbon dioxide levels. You have to go back a few 100,000 years to find comparable levels of carbon dioxide. So we're tampering with the Earth itself. And you look at temperatures. There's a spike just within the last 50, 100 years, and this spike is not normal. A spike in temperature. And so, the Earth does have cycles, as people have pointed out. It does have cycles. But if you take a look at the so-called current interglacial cycle, the last ice age was 10,000 years ago. Over that 10,000-year period, we have this spike taking place just in the last 50 to 100 years. Duh. I mean, maybe humans had a part to play in it.
Is there... can you look ahead, or can science look ahead and see where the point might be where it's irreversible, where, eventually it will be untenable for human life if a certain point is passed?
Yeah, I think there's not one point of no return. I think there's several points of no return. And one of them, I think, has already been passed. This is still controversial, of course. The North Pole. Some people say that no matter what we do now, the North Polar region will melt by the end of this century. No one has a crystal ball. No one knows for sure. But even if all the Kyoto protocols are put into effect now, then there's so much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere already that we're going to lose the North Pole. And, of course, our kids and grandkids are going to be angry at us They'll say that Santa Claus comes from the North Pole, and the kids will say, look, I'm not stupid. Everybody knows there is no North Pole. It's all melted because you guys did nothing. So,
well,
our
one's already
grandkids may
passed.
accuse
Too
us
late.
of killing Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. What does it mean if we have no more North Pole? Is there anything really serious that will impact the Earth with no more North Pole?
Yes. There's something called the thermohaline cycles. Benjamin Franklin was the first one to notice this. When Ben Franklin was going across the Atlantic on his numerous voyages, he noticed that there was a river underneath the oceans. And the river, as you know, extends from the Gulf of Mexico into Europe. And if you look at the map of the globe, England is comparable to parts of northern Canada. And I spoke in Moscow just a few months ago, and if you look at its latitude, it's way up north. So Europe, by rights, should be frozen solid. So why do we even have Moscow? Why do we even have England? And it's because of the Gulf Stream that comes from the Gulf of Mexico, goes across the Atlantic, as Benjamin Franklin first pointed out, and heats up, artificially in some sense, heats up Europe. As you know from the movie Day After Tomorrow that you spearheaded, if that thermohaline cycle is destroyed or disrupted or whatever, you're talking about a mini ice age gripping Europe. And we know that it's happened in the past. You can actually see the fingerprint of disruptions of the thermohaline cycle of the past. That's very dangerous if that happens.
Do you monitor the current measurements of the current? Are we beginning to see changes in that current already?
Well, what happens is fresh water is being dumped because Greenland is thawing out.
Right.
Greenland has lots of fresh water. It's being dumped into the North Atlantic, and it is already beginning to disrupt the Gulf Stream. It's not at a tipping point yet, so we shouldn't panic. But at some point, there could be a tipping point. Like I mentioned, I was just in Moscow speaking to the government there a few months ago, and they're complaining that Siberia is thawing out. That's why all these mammoths are being found that the Discovery Channel has specials about. How come all of a sudden all these ancient frozen mammoths and mammals and humans are coming out of the ice? And it's because the ice is receding. And as the ice recedes, it yields up humans and mammoths that have been frozen for thousands of years.
That's right.
So if Siberia thaws out, the tundra is going to thaw out, releasing methane gas. Methane, of course, is in your stove, but it's also decaying plant material creates methane. Methane is a worse greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. So you have a vicious cycle. Heating causes methane to be released. Methane causes more global warming, more methane to be released. That could be a real tipping point. That's what people are really afraid of. If Siberia and Alaska thaw out, then we're in big trouble.
Alaska is thawing out. I mean, clearly it's thawing out.
Yeah, you can see housing tracts built on foundations of tundra that are sort of collapsing, roads collapsing in Alaska because the tundra is thawing out.
Well, they're already seeing some disruption in the current. Where it was strong, it's kind of fragmenting at times now. More and more often, it's fragmenting. It's not as strong as it was. It's really weird. So that could all... And another thing they're discovering is that some of these changes in the past that they thought occurred over very, very long periods of time, and it's one of the raps we took on the movie because we said it could occur so quickly with regard to the storm. These changes, they're now finding out through ice cores and the rest of it, occurred rather rapidly.
Yeah, that's kind of frightening. I had a chance actually to visit Iceland once. I gave a talk there, and they actually showed me the laboratory where these results were being done. They actually drill right into the ice of Greenland. They go many, many, many feet into the ice. They take out the ice. They look at the cores. And under a microscope, you can see like a zebra stripes, horizontal stripes. Some of them corresponding to volcanic eruptions that happened centuries ago. So you can actually date the various stripes in this long core of ice that's many feet long. It's about, 2 inches in diameter. You can actually date them because you know when certain volcanoes erupted. And when you do that, you find out that temperature swings take place not over just tens of thousands of years like we thought, but these swings can happen over a period of decades to maybe a century. Now, that's frightening, knowing that tipping points have taken place in the past and that a tipping point could happen in the future. So, of course, that's still speculation. But the past record is carved in ice. You can actually see it, tipping points in the past that have taken place over a matter of decades to centuries.